Okay, in this video, I'm just going to talk about what the last few days has been like. Today is August 16th, 2018. And a lot has transpired in the last few days. A lot has transpired. From other videos, you know that I had 3 lockers at the University of Akron that no one knew about. No one had a way of knowing that I was utilizing lockers there, and I had been doing that for the last 6 months. I've been there 6 months unbothered. What they did recently was they orchestrated an occurrence of some sort. I don't even know. I'm not even able to get information on it. The only number I have was for the police department, and I spoke with them last night. I'll get into that soon. But they organized an occurrence of some sort that resulted in notices being put on the lockers. Here's the notices. This was on the ones that had locks. I don't know if you can see it. I have bigger pictures of it on Facebook with my protest signs, and this will be under that, so you'll probably see it first. One thing that I'll get off that I had to the 19th, and then another one that had the police's phone number and pretty much let me know that these items were in the lost and found. Now, the first discrepancy that I noticed with this was it was made on the 13th. I was there on the 13th, and I was in the Veterans Lounge. So it's odd that this was made that day, and it only says by management. It doesn't have a point of contact. It's done really in a generic manner where like no one can be reached or held accountable for it. The same thing happened at the University Police Department. The lady went on and on about like, what's this management thing? The management. There's I don't know who the management is, but anyhow, these notices were on the lockers. On the 14th, I was out grabbing items, preparing for the fall. And they were orchestrating this ordeal. So while I was out, this happened on like I said, the first discrepancy was a date. I didn't find out until the 15th, which was yesterday, and I handled it then. I was there on the 13th, didn't go by there on the 14th. So it appears that this was premeditated in a way. And like I said, no one has a way of even knowing. Now, when I took it up with the officers, the first person I spoke with was the dispatcher. She was pleasant. She didn't give me any issues. Other than it was odd that anybody could come across so much information and not look at or read anything. She asked me, she said, how is it that your life is in a locker? What is your life doing in a locker? All your stuff is in there. And even with that, she refrained from regarding the matter at hand. I had flyers in that locker, tons of flyers, tons of information on this fight. She mentioned none of it. Mentioned none of it. And since when officers take that much stuff? There's a video, you'll see what was in there. It was like binders. You know, I keep a good inventory. A well-organized inventory. Let me show you. A well-organized. You probably can't see it either, but it's there. Yeah, so it was, they didn't take an inventory when gathering that many items. So my questions to them, were like just how many officers were present when it took place and things of that nature. Anyhow, everything ended up being okay. I didn't have any items come up missing. I did an inventory myself once I got the items. And that was that with her, with the clerk, and she gave me the badge numbers and some old information. While we were discussing it, she had to call in the officer that responded. It happened during midnight shift, which was odd too. They're not blaming isn't the correct word. They're saying that this was initiated in a way by the janitor, the same janitor that I've had issues with in the past. And it's weird that he'd be able to orchestrate a matter in the females' locker room. The officers will tell you everything was so neat and just clean that you never would have knew. You never would have knew. So I don't know how he got them to, I know how. The thing is, okay, when you're possessed, you're being ran by suggestion. That means you can show up at the drop of a dime and not have a clue what's going on. All you know is what you're being told. So that's the only intel you're getting. You're getting intel from those that are surveillancing. Government agents whom are surveillancing everything around you, watching all your encounters. They have all types of different interfaces going on and tons of technology. But they could switch him out, and he could someone else could show up, and they could tell him, hey, like, we've been having issues with this girl in the past. Like, I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe they put the notice on here and he went and asked about it, and that's how it got started. I don't know. I don't know how any of that unfolded. And everybody was really, really confused. Even when the officer showed up, he didn't have any information to give, anything to add to it. It was pretty much the same thing that the dispatcher and the other officer were able to give me. The only difference is the other officer was aware of the complaint, the formal complaint that I put in on the officer that responded the last time I had an issue with the janitor, because I wrote a formal complaint about that, about how she handled the situation. So he was informed on that, and he was able to inform the other two officers, which was helpful because that information wasn't in the law. The only thing that was law was the occurrence on May 14th. That's the only prior thing that happened. I was sleeping in one of the classrooms. So yeah, me and this officer, we get into it because he was so hell-bent on just being indecent to me. He was really hell-bent on being indecent and inhumane, you know, like, well, no, we're putting you and all this stuff out tonight. I had just asked the woman, I'm like, well, how long do you guys typically keep items here? And she's like, oh, it seems like forever, she said. She said, somewhere between 3 to 6 months, but she said, I think about up to a year. I was like, well, all I need is until tomorrow, you know, and I thought I had that taken care of, but when he showed up, that changed, and he's like, no, everything's going with you tonight, and we're going to go by there, and we're going to pick up these other lockers. He was like, are those yours too? He was like, well, the only reason we didn't go in them because they had locks on them. This other lock, the one that they went in, the one with all my paperwork in it, the sensitive items, had a zip tie on it. So, and a suitcase that didn't have anything in it relevant. So, he's like, he asked, are those my lockers? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, well, we're going to pick those up tonight too. We're going to clean all that, you're going to get all that stuff out, and you got to go. He's like, I don't care where you know, I'm like, well, that's inhumane. I'm like, I'm on foot. You know, like, I don't even have a way to transport this stuff. And so anyhow, after we went back and forth, a few exchanges, after I told them, it was a lot. Not a lot. It was enough. It was too much back and forth. But I told both officers, excluding the dispatcher, that the only thing that would matter, the only thing that will matter is that they did something without having a way of knowing. No one can justify how they knew. No one in the equation can justify how this came about. And like I said, I've been using them 6 months, using 3 lockers for 6 months with a no problem. No one had a way of knowing, and no one could justify how they found out. You don't just do stuff just because. You don't just do stuff without, how did you know? How did you know? And these are the type of things that have been happening to me. It's harassment. So anyhow, like I told him, the bottom line was no one had a way of knowing, and that's the only thing that's going to matter in court. And because they just didn't understand what they were getting themselves into. And I was just trying to get them to understand, like, it's a bigger issue at hand. And so we go and we get this stuff. And Jesus Christ, they're going off. There's stuff that takes place too when situations like this happen. These people try to do the foulest things to embarrass me, and I don't even know what any of this is associated with. I don't know if something like this were to happen to a person, what it would be associated with. But during the conversation, it was like one leg, the nerves in it, I told you sometimes, like, I'll wake up and everything will be just limp on one arm and hand, or, both hands will be numb, or, they do all types of stuff just to show me what they can do. So during this conversation, this leg was just like the nerves was out of control, and I had to stand a certain way to keep it from moving, because it looked weird. None of them caught it, but I mean, I'm doing an inventory of self while I'm engaging, and then on top of that, they started doing this stuff. It was almost like they gave me a laxative and was trying to force a bowel movement in the middle of this conversation. They did the same thing at my husband's funeral when those people jumped me. They did the same thing when those people jumped me. And like I said, if something like that were to manifest or transpire, all I feel is the sensation. I feel them trying to do it and going off about it not doing what it does on everyone else. But I don't know what it would be associated with. We go and we get the stuff. Right now everybody's calm, we're not bickering and complaining or anything. It was something I wanted to mention. They're holding on to that. I've been trying to get this thought for the longest. They're blocking it. They're jamming. Something about, I said we had that interaction. I hate when they do that. I really hate when they do that. And they're just trying to keep me from mentioning something. Now I'm going to be forced to have to put it in the description. I'll have to type about it. And even though I made it clear that people need to read the description, half of you probably won't. So anyhow, there wasn't any information I had to know about. I did an inventory. There was more than one person. I got badge numbers and all that good stuff. Anyhow, so that happened. Earlier that day, they telekinesis right from my book bag, my planner. Now in this planner, let me go back. I'm gonna go back another day. I'm gonna go back to the 14th. They took the Kindle Fire. That's the only device I have. That's now 10 devices in government agencies' possession. People do not have them. There's no one in this area that have them. It's at government agencies. And it's weird because I'm using a term that's associated with science. You know, it's a scientific term. So even though it is theft, it's a form of theft, you know, nothing's going off. Not for no reason. Because you already know the status of most of the officers that I happen to be having these encounters with. But I'm just saying, when I do come across a decent officer, one that's not possessed, still nothing's going off. I explain the phenomenon and how it works. And they're like, okay, I get that part. But it's something that's not clicking. It's not something you hear every day. I guarantee you, I'm the only one making these type of reports about my items being stolen in that way. And it's a form of isolation. That's 10 devices. I don't have a phone. I can't make a call. I can't, you know what I'm saying? Like, I can't do anything like to make my day run smoothly. And if I want to check something before I go, I'm on foot. If I want to check something before I go somewhere, I only ride the buses on Friday when they're free. I have 4 or 5 passes that I have to be strategic about how I use them. Because I don't have, you get what I'm saying? Like, my situation is they make sure I'm not able to do anything. Even when I'm searching for a place, I have a voucher that I haven't even been able to exercise yet. And I started my search before I got the voucher. They're making sure certain housing agencies don't even pop up in my search engine when I put a search in. So I'm saying in every case, in every situation, I do my due diligence. But there's stuff that they're able to hide from sight. And this is a problem, and no one seems to think so, but me. They don't think it's odd that I'm homeless. They don't think it's odd that I don't have a job. They don't think it's odd that I'm a clergy and I'm getting jumped. They don't think it's odd that I stand alone. You see what I'm saying? Anything that would be alarming to normal human beings is being ignored. Stop it. The devil is a lie. Which government agency are you with? And it's weird, like lately, when I go to the police department, I had to make 3 police reports, 3 incident reports in the last week. That's all in a week's time. I made 3 incident reports. These people be going on talking about I'm not supposed to be making police reports no more. They told these people I wasn't going to be coming and making reports anymore. And when I show up, they treat me as such. They're like, well, ma'am, you know, one officer told me, you know, I know you have quite a few of these. They're different in nature, is what I told her. Because even though these are cyber crimes, they're different in nature. One pertains to email, another pertains to social media, something else pertains to unauthorized remote access. You get what I'm saying? So it's not the same. There's a variation. There's so many variations to the type of things that these people do. You cannot put it in a box. But furthermore, incident reports, it's one of those things you're supposed to be able, as a citizen, to make them about anything. And now they're getting to a point where they're like, the first thing they ask people when they come in, well, how can this matter be investigated? So I asked them recently, you know, like, when did the mandate come down? That, you know, y'all really don't want people making reports unless it can be investigated. Because that's odd, too. And I don't know which realm they're operating in, but that's not going to ever fly. They already ain't doing their job. And then you think you got then you think you're going to be telling people that they can't document occurrences that are for future legal purposes? That's a problem. And so when I went today, I was talking to the officer, and asked me, she goes, well, ma'am, what do you want to, what do you hope to have happen over this? And she's like, because I know you have quite a few police reports, and I just was wondering, because we can't investigate any of this, and the problem is they can't investigate it. So I told her that first. I said, it's just insane with all the evidence that I have out there. These people are doing harm to me. They're killing my family members. They're doing this. They're doing that. And no one's looking into anything. I'm being isolated and retaliated against. That's something to look into. I'm being harmed in every way. That's something to look into. That's something to look into. And so, she was like, yeah, it's that. She was like, but what are you going to do? And I was like, well, the thing is, I am. How did I word it? I told her. I said, it'll be used for future documentation and legal purposes to move against the government. And she said, okay, I see. I said, the truth is, I'll probably own this police department. That's just the reality of it. I already own Akron Police Department. I already own City Hospital. And these are places that I have to tiptoe around because they're retaliating against me. I'm just one person. But in the spirit realm, like I told you before, I'm the most powerful thing walking. You know what I'm saying? So when I handle these people, but it's just, it's that they're misinformed. They're always misinformed. And then the moment they find out who I am, it's just like they change. The moment they find out who I am, they change. And then no one wants nothing to do with me. There's officers that will not even come in contact with me. For nothing. So that was on the 14th, the Kindle Fire. Back to what I was saying. Okay, so then I make this report on the 15th. And now I'm just talking about the nature of the reports, not the encounters. On the 15th, I make this report. Right now they're doing something to my hand. They're trying to make it go limp because they don't like the way that I use my hands. You see what I'm saying? This is a hate crime in every way. They can't stand anything about me. But they love me at the same. It's a horrible, horrible situation. This is demonic. Like, it is so demonic. It's like they love everything about what I'm capable of doing and who I'm capable of being, but they hate me because they're not able to be me. They don't like people they can't become. But if you're watching me 24/7, how could you not? You get what I'm saying? Like, them watching me go through this, it's just, the devil be having soft moments. And then they get crazy. And they do all types of stuff to tear up everything around me. To tear up everything around me, and it's not okay. This has been a problem for so long, and I just cannot wait until it's over. I really can't. Back to the nature of the incident on the 15th. It was about my planner. This planner has everything in it that took place between 1/1/2018 and 3 days ago. I write in it daily. In it has stop talking to me. Oh yeah, so anyhow, all my stuff is in trash bags. And they drop me off. Like, I had them drop me off, not at my mother's location, but a house near my mother's location, and just toted the bags from there and put them in the basement, because there's like separate properties. So she doesn't even know it took place or transpired. I couldn't have certain things be there. And because this information isn't out yet, and no one knows where this other property is safe. They do have, of course, they put these people in your neighborhoods like years in advance. There's a weird guy that moved in, and he is one of them. And I knew something was wrong back then about it, but now I really know. In more ways than one. But that's another story. I have a way of putting these things, backing them into corners where they can't do anything. So I've already taken care of that. So anyhow, you're doing something to my face right now. Oh yeah, that's another thing. Human augmentation tool. Okay, so, well, wait. Okay, the planner. In this planner, it has, I'm sorry, they're doing a lot to me. So I'm just trying to tough through it. As you know, without your gland being active, spiritual warfare is like null and void. Null and void. With the in the planner. In the planner. Okay, in the planner, they I have detailed times, dates, events, all types of stuff that took place. Anything that took place between, like I said, 1/1 and 2018. So there's like surveillance references, like times where I can be caught on surveillance. I always make sure I'm on surveillance. I always make sure I'm somewhere where I can be seen, a public place. And I'm always pretty much amongst the same 3, 4, up until a month or two ago, 5 or 6 places. So, I hate when they do that. They stopped the recording without. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, anything with electricity. If it's ran by electricity, they can get into it and mess with how it functions. Surveillance times and references. It has threats, because I used it as a journal too, so it was like another way for me to write certain things that they were saying, that came to pass. So it'd be like, they're saying this about this family member. 2 days later, it would happen, or they're saying they're going to do this to this family member. The next day it would happen. It's not clairvoyance at all. These are like, this is the stuff that people not dismiss, that people acknowledge and reference as clairvoyance, but it's not. It's demonic insight. Nothing about it is divine, and you have to be able to tell the difference. If it weren't for being in this matrix and being chipped, things would be totally different. There'd be no spiritual warfare. You get what I'm saying? There'd be no way to penetrate the energetic fields. There'd be no way to apply certain diseases like cancer. Cancer is a spirit. That's something you can be healed from the laying of hands. There are some things that you definitely need medical fields, medical doctors and things of that nature, verbally deals. But they're more so for like big things, like rare occurrences. All this stuff that they've made common is orchestrated. All this stuff that they've made common is orchestrated in another way in. It's another way to break and bust down willpower of others, to have more of a demonic influence and more of a control over the minds for when situations like this take place. But that's not what I was about to say. Spiritual. You need them for things like wounds. Wounds, stabs, stitches, that type of stuff. You need them for that. But a lot of the stuff that they're medicating people for, any aches, any pains, that's all spiritual. That's all being applied spiritually. That's all stuff attaching itself to you. It's not meant to be medicated, and when you do, it just gives them more permission to attack you and give you another ailment or disease. Surveillance. Surveillance. Oh yeah, family members, things, threats, stuff of that nature. Appointments, and correspondence. Anything that I was doing to correspond with, as far as taking care of business and just being that's my proof. You get what I'm saying? Yesterday I was livid about it. Today when I went into the police station, I should have still been livid about it, but they gave me something to alter. I was unable to get mad. And then it helped a lot that I wasn't dealing with one of their belligerent officers. That did help. But I have every reason to be angry. And I'm not even being able to grieve how I want to grieve and be angry when I want to be angry. That's a problem. So it has everything in it. Correspondences with any type of business I was taking care of, any type of appointments or matters I was handling for others is in that book. females, me going to appointments with them to make sure they weren't being mistreated. Me showing up at the hospital for people to make sure they weren't being mistreated. Me just checking up on people while this was going on. All of it was in there. What else? Anything else? Numbers, references, the combination to my locks, but nothing's locked up right now. Like I said, everything's in bags. There's 3 bags in the basement. And then I have 2 bags on me. I have a gym bag and a book bag. And throughout the day, I keep the gym bag tucked off in an area that is being ran during the day between the hours of pretty much 7 to 5, but there's always someone there at least, I don't know, 9, 10 o'clock. So I go in roughly after that. And yeah, it's safe there. But they've been trying to orchestrate a situation and set me up with that too. To get me, you know what I'm saying, to find a way to have an officer respond so that I can be kicked out of there too. And meanwhile, there's no reason I shouldn't have a place right now. There's no reason I shouldn't have a place. None. But they're trying to force me to use their people. They want me to use certain services and certain people, certain relatives. And they want me to pretend that people were doing stuff that they weren't. They want me to pretend that people were being helpful and, you know, don't mention this and don't say that. You can never. You won't ever. But yeah, that sums up the last few days. That sums up the last few days. They've been rough though. And I absolutely hate dealing with the cops. It's like, I cannot stand dealing with the cops. I really can't. And they just keep putting me in the worst situations. They're orchestrating matters that just shouldn't be on anyone's radar. Maybe I should take advantage of this and talk about something else too. Let me see what I got. Because I wrote some good stuff in the last couple of days. But you see what I'm saying? Like, stuff is continuing to come up missing, and no one's even alarmed. And you know what? 2 of 3 of the last officers that I spoke with were women. How could a woman see this happen to a woman? I could never witness nothing like this happen to another woman. Ever. And not be alarmed and just going in on the entire department. The same police. She's not gonna be. Sales. Okay, so one of the reasons that they've been trying to, I don't know what their intentions hard anymore, because it's just like it's impossible. It's impossible. It's impossible. Like, this information, it's just a matter of time before it reaches the public. And every time they run a test scenario and they look into how people are responding to something I do, how they're responding to me protesting, or how they're responding to how I handle a public service announcement, or how I, you know what I'm saying, when they look into stuff like this and they see all the problems that are taking place in other states, it just makes them attack me that much more. It's like the most retarded shit I've ever seen. Every time they look and see what's going on, they lose their minds and attack me even more. Yeah, when they run test scenarios, see a number of things happen. They become disturbed by the public's reaction. That's why I said, too, previously, one of the things that I disclosed was like martial law is just not something that we're going to ever be subjected to. Like, we as a people, that's not something that will ever happen. And if it does, it's more of us than them. That's all I'm saying. It's more of us than them. So if it should ever come down to it, you know what we got to do. Become fearful of the imposter's reaction. Yeah, that's irrelevant. Oh yeah, my position. They know that I won't accept the title president. That's been a problem. That's been a problem. Because they want to try and maintain some of the things that they have. They want to try and maintain some of the private things that they have in place. And I'm definitely not going to allow that. A lot of this stuff that they've been doing, I'm going to make sure is shown publicly, because it's like the most. Think about anybody that you've ever known. I never knew anybody that was diagnosed with a mental disorder or disease. We have a handicapped individual in our family, you know, like, we grew up with my uncle who's completely handicapped as a result of egg mutation, them targeting my grandmother's eggs. So that's not a mental disorder. That's, you get what I'm saying? It's like a difference between a mental disorder and a mental handicap. So I've never known anyone that was being diagnosed with stuff like schizophrenia or psychosis or all this other stuff these people are being wrongfully diagnosed with in most cases. Had no very little recollection of it. Never knew anyone. Never, it's not a term, any of those terms. None of those terms were thrown around often, ever. And my thoughts. Stop. Stop, government agent. Just stop it. I don't know who you're trying to put on for, but that's not how you do. No, it ain't. Don't try it. Don't get embarrassed. You lucky this camera rolling. Because you know I tear you down. I don't know. I just don't know. I can't access the thought now. So I guess this is the end for now. Maybe I'll add a description, but I probably won't. I'm getting like, I don't know. Maybe I would. I have another, yeah, let me touch on that real quick. I have something else that I'm working on that will probably be the first thing you see when you visit my Facebook page. Oh no, and I told Ernie that years ago. It'll never happen though. It'll never happen. Oh my word. They're regarding a statement that I made to a close friend of mine years ago regarding social media. And what I told him what happened. I told him that we were talking about the state of social media and just how, I guess, how bad in a way it had gotten, just like how it had gotten away from its purpose, some of the things that just weren't necessary that we were noticing. And it's someplace publicly, so it'll be in one of my comments on my old, on my old Facebook page once I get those open. And I was telling him, I said, you know, social media will be taken from us long before people ever decide to just not use it. And these are the type of things that they entertain because anything that they thought that the Holy Spirit would approve were things that they were implementing with a demonic twist. It'll never happen. It's not happening. So there's a list of items that I'm going to be touching on, and it's just to briefly touch on how wide in range this attack has been and how it applies to your life too, because you're undergoing very similar attacks on a surface level in a way. So this is a list. In the next video, I'm going to elaborate on all these things and touch on them. This is a long list. It's a lot of stuff. Brace yourself. But just to give you an idea of what to look forward to in this next video, because it's going to be a whole lot of information. whole lot of information. It's plenty. You're about to be informed on so much. And once you apply some of these real basic, not even apply, once you are made aware of these things, these concepts, you'll be able to identify how it's been applied to your life. So it's time to start putting the devil out. It's time to kick the devil out. We gotta put the devil out of every aspect of our lives. We gotta get rid of him. Okay, the reptilian agenda, which is a threat to our strand of DNA and Christ's return. That's the whole reason they're attacking me. They don't want Christ to return. Man wants to keep everything that he has no business having in the first place. He wants to continue to do unethical business. Okay, that's not what I said I was going to do. The government and elite members of science, technology, shape-shifting, telekinesis, demon possession, attacks, and all their variations, clones, music, and how the lyrics are being used against us and applied to our lives, Satan's anointing, administering different types of things, because there's a number of different agents that they administer us that show up and manifest that we think are a part of us, and it's not. LGBT, being jumped, surveillance teams, history images, history, the things and the developments that are going on in our areas. That astral projection, false truths, and what happened to you when you accept the false truth. The false history kind of goes in with history itself. IV assist, medical IV assist, and how that is assisting elite men and women of science in possessing people. Coverts, RFID chip implant, hospital, mark of the beast, political influence, colleges. Akron, I'm going to talk about my city where I'm from, and the changes I've seen take place here, and everything that's bad. It's a horrible place to be right now. Police departments, the universe, development, orchestrated crimes, and how those are playing out. Churches, protests, First Amendment, small cities, disadvantage. The influx of people that are talking to themselves, systems and programs, business law, context and meaning, how we're using words out of context, how we got to get back to the origination of the word and use words in context. So you're saying what you mean all the time. Indigenous people, white privilege, sovereign, Christ, the Y chromosome, Adam and Eve, the Bible, and debunking a lot of the false truths that were in the Bible, because man has his hand all through it. There's a lot of information in anointing, DNA, divine disclosure, revelations, gifts and purposes, black girl magic, magnetic healing, traumas, women's body, the woman's body, sex in the womb, possessed imposters, demon seeds, which are children that do not belong to their parents. Most of the time it's just one parent. It's normally the father most of the time, but in a lot of cases it's the mother too. Suggestions and how suggestions work. What's the purpose and why they want to kill off net DNA? But I think I already alluded to that. The Holy Spirit, mother of all mothers, supporting goods and services, customer service, criminal records, hidden science, pineal gland, somatic memory, explicit memory, declarative memory, the mind overall. Memory removal, corrupt neuroscience, internal dialogue, interference, internet, social media, news media, spiritual warfare. Lifestyle, homeless, induced hardship, isolation, labeling, changing appearance, family history, mom, dad, brother, friends list, teeth, light, hair, crown, life experiences. Political influence. Oh, no, sorry. I think that's it. Oh, relationships and how they should be maintained. The people that know what happened to them, who I've told. And when I say the people that know, I'm not talking about the people that I've told. I'm saying that there were people that knew the information that I'm revealing now. They already knew this. What happened to those people? That's something you need to ask yourself. Who have I told? Non-injured relatives. Society. Appropriate emotions. Appropriate emotional responses. How many relatives do we have?